Star Wars is a very big billion-dollar franchise, one of the biggest still out there besides Star Trek. There are many different reasons people enjoy Star Wars. Some people like the lightsaber battles, the X-Wing battles in space, the characters, the story, the lore, or all of the above. I was a big Star Wars fan growing up. We would watch the original Star Wars trilogy every New Year's Eve, and when I was 5, Episode 1 came out in theaters, and I saw Episode 2 in theaters with my family when that came out as well. Then Disney would buy out Lucasfilms and make their own sequel trilogy, which got a mixed to negative reception from fans. There's been ranking videos for this franchise from several different creators, but I'm going to do my own ranking. This will be a controversial ranking since I rank these movies differently than most people would. Also, I will only be ranking the episodic films, so no spin-offs here. With that said, let's begin. Number 9. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. At the bottom of the barrel, we have this movie. This is a movie I was never fond of. I wasn't fond of it as a kid when I saw it in theaters, and I'm still not fond of it now upon a second watch. There were a few entertaining sequences that I remember, but those sequences couldn't save the movie as a whole. I thought it was just really boring, and I didn't like the story or the character development at all. Anakin was stupid, and Padme was stupid for marrying him. This was my biggest problem with this movie. It was a mess, and definitely the black sheep of the prequel trilogy, and it's not a film I'll be watching again anytime soon. Number 8. Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. This was a really terrible movie in my opinion. This was a movie that ended the Skywalker saga of movies, and it was a really terrible finish. It ignored the previous 2 movies and just went off in a nonsensical direction. I didn't feel like the characters were in any real danger, like when Rey accidentally blew up a ship that they thought had Chewie in it, but then they realized he was on a different transport. Also, don't get me started on Emperor Palpatine. How on earth do you bring him back after he supposedly died in Return of the Jedi? I still can't wrap my head around that. Then there's the climax of the movie where Rey faces off against him and she says, "I am all the Jedi." Gee, Avengers Endgame much? It was way too similar to the climax in that movie. And then there was the scene where Han Solo appears as a ghost to Kylo Ren. Like, what? I thought he died back in episode 7, can't believe they are resorting to that. When I saw that scene, I just laughed and laughed, like how ridiculous can you get? The only reason I ranked this higher than Attack of the Clones by a sliver is because I did enjoy this film and it's good for a laugh. But was it a good movie? Not in the slightest. It was without a doubt probably the most poorly written film I had ever seen, and I wouldn't recommend it unless you insist on being a Star Wars completionist. Same with Attack of the Clones. Number 7. Episode 7, The Force Awakens. The movie that started up the sequel trilogy. I like this more than The Rise of Skywalker, but I still don't think it's a very good movie. When I first saw this movie in theaters at 1:30 in the morning, I really liked it at first, but then I realized the only reason I even liked it at all was because it was a nostalgic fan service movie. Rather than trying something new and different, they basically brought the old characters back and rehashed scenes from the older movies, especially A New Hope. There were a few new characters like Rey and Poe and Finn, but I'm not a big fan of the new characters either. While this movie was fun, I just didn't think it was a great movie, and I wish it had broken new ground instead of being a nostalgic rehash, but I'd rather watch this over The Rise of Skywalker any day. Number 6. Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Now listen carefully, Disney. This is the only bone I am throwing to your trilogy. This movie of yours is number 6 on a list of 9. So the reason why I ranked this above the previous 2 films is because I think the storytelling is a lot better. It was a little more original and it was pretty suspenseful too, with characters actually dying. I thought the climax was pretty slow, yet somehow so interesting enough to keep you in your seat. I will agree though that the worst scene in the movie was the casino sequence, which was just weird and out of place filler. This film would have been shorter and easier to sit through if they didn't do that sequence. So, not a great movie, but it's an okay movie, and I like it more than the other 2 episodes in this trilogy. Some of you are really gonna disagree with me, but that's my opinion and my taste. Number 5. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. A lot of people dislike this film and rank it low on their list, But I rank it this high because out of all the Star Wars movies I saw as a kid, I watched this one the most. There was just some kid-friendly charm to it, and it had a lot of cool sequences. I liked the opening of the film where they battled the droid army, and I liked Jar Jar Binks even if others didn't. I liked the pod racing scene, and I liked the climax with Darth Maul, who is such a cool villain with his double-sided lightsaber. When I go back to revisit it, it's still entertaining. So if anything, I enjoy this film just for nostalgia, even if it didn't age so well. Number 4, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I think many of us can agree that this is the best of the prequel trilogy. This movie has it all. Lots of action and suspense, and I think it's the most well-written of the prequels. This is the movie where Anakin officially joins the dark side and becomes Darth Vader. As a result, this is probably the darkest the Star Wars movies have ever gotten, and this is the first Star Wars to be given a PG-13 rating by the MPAA, and it really needed that PG-13 due to all the intense and dark stuff in it. Probably my favorite part of the movie, however, is just the fight with General Grievous. He is such a cool villain, and I like how he wields 4 lightsabers at once. And overall, that whole sequence was just really entertaining, although some say it was anticlimactic. So yeah, I like this movie, and I wouldn't skip over it in a marathon like I would with Episode 2. Now we're getting to the top 3 here. Number 3, Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This is the Star Wars movie most people consider to be the best of the best. However, I don't consider this movie the best of the best, but it's still in the top 3. I really like the intro with the Snow Muzzler, and I like the AT-AT sequence, and also the plot twist where Luke finds out Darth Vader is his father. But what keeps this film from being the best of the best for me are the Yoda sequences, which slow the film down to a crawl for me. But everything else is great, and I can see why some rank it as number 1, but it's not number 1 in my book. Number 2, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Some people consider this the black sheep of the original trilogy, but you know what? It's my second favorite. I think some people think it's the weakest of the original trilogy because of how silly I got, but I actually like the silly sequences, and I also really like the Ewoks. They're just adorable. I also like the bike sequence in the jungle when troopers are chasing them. That is a cool sequence. I also really like the climax of the film where Darth Vader gets his redemption by defeating Palpatine and saving his son. That is just a tear-jerking sequence. It was an overall satisfying conclusion to a classic trilogy in my opinion, but there is still one Star Wars movie that stands out from all the rest. Now finally, number 1, Episode 4, A New Hope. That's right, the one that started it all is my number 1 favorite Star Wars movie. This movie is just simple fun from start to finish. So many classic scenes in this movie, from the opening sequence to the cantina sequence to the trash compactor sequence and the climax where they destroy the Death Star. It is just all around awesomeness. Little known fact, this film was originally just called Star Wars until they decided to re-release it with the episodic title of A New Hope. If I had time to watch just one Star Wars movie, I would probably watch this one, especially with someone who has never seen Star Wars before. So, that's my ranking, and tell me what you think. How would you rank the Star Wars movie? Leave your comments below, or even make your own response ranking. God bless.